Lemon Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another Lemon Amiga game guide and review. This week we'll be taking a look at Hole-in-One Miniature Golf, devised by Charles J. Carter and published by DigiTek, released in time for Christmas 1988. We can operate our ball pointer with the mouse, and for this let's just select the Classics course and let's check this game out. The aim is to place the ball on the pad and stretch out the line in the direction you want it to travel to gain a hole-in-one. Having done so, we will move then on to the next hole, where we'll find a different challenge, and every hole is slightly different, of course modelled on miniature golf. So what better on a long hot summer to go outside and relax, maybe by the beach, maybe by the seaside, and to explore a nice friendly game of miniature golf. And if you can't do that, if the weather's too bad, then you can always explore it on the Amiga with this indoor variant. Hole-in-One is a data disc to the very popular Amy Putt Classics, released on the Amiga in 1988, and Amy Putt Classics is an identical game. This just has a different set of graphics, and as you can see it takes us to all the usual crazy golf holes with castles and clowns and even the park bench by the side. Hole-in-One comes with 8 courses, and apart from the training course, this is usually the first course that people will be checking out. It's the easy one, and you won't find too many bunkers here, and too many ways to make mistakes. So at this point, the game gradually introducing the player to different types of variant in ground, and once the player has mastered this terrain, they should be able to complete the rest of the game. Reach your stroke limit, then unfortunately you'll have to move on to the next hole, and in the next hole it could be any number of crazy random things. But yes, it is always possible to reach that hole-in-one. Game is also a puzzler, and like most puzzlers, it is designed so that the player will have to play these courses over and over again to master them, and having mastered the correct opportunities, then the striking down into the hole shouldn't be too difficult. Hole-in-One also likes to mix up some crown green bowling action, and crown green bowling on a miniature golf course is also a little bit special, and we'll find all the more special holes later on. But for this training level, sometimes it can be a little bit madness and sometimes a little bit of luck. I think anyone who's familiar with the fantastic Amy Putt Classics would love this game, and it's very familiar territory, and in fact very familiar because Mini Golf and Mini Golf Plus was also released in 1988, which followed a very similar format to this game with the overhead view. Hole-in-One is also an American title, and therefore it's fully installable to Workbench. You will find various Workbench options hidden away in the menu, including retrying a hole if you mess it up. After the first 9, we will be given our scorecard, where we can see the names of all those holes and the names of the ones that we yet have to face. And you can see our score is accumulating, but unfortunately we aren't playing this in 2-player mode, we're just playing competitively against ourselves. You can see we can even print off those scores, and we can change our name as well. I think it's a real pity that there is no in-game music, and we can change various options within the game, and we can add a player as well. And an odd option is the contour option, where we can take a look at the lie of the land to see where we are headed. I don't think this really adds much to the game, but it's a nice feature all the same. This is the WHD install that we are reviewing at the moment, and so all of the courses will be in there, including the alphabet course, which for my money is the most boring. Luckily, there are a large range of courses, and so if you don't like one, we can always move on to the next. In this case, let's check out the Expert course. You wanna play golf? The Expert course features all of the things that we've seen so far, plus more. And if you thought the other ones were difficult, well, this takes it to another extreme. Of course, all we have to do is to extend the line, and the more we extend that line, the more power that we'll have behind that shot. And so all we have to do is point the ball towards that hole, and hopefully it will move in there. So this is me taking my first few shots on the hard mode, and of course I'm aiming in the wrong direction, so the ball will move in the wrong direction. So let's just speed up that footage and move through this hole. We're actually playing this in 2-player mode, and so my friend Simon has kindly agreed to play the hard mode of this game. And so this is the first time he's even seen it or played it before in his life, so it should give us a good estimation of how good this is for the novice.
Straight down the hole. You would not believe it. Straight down the hole. Straight down the hole.
This means the game is approachable to all ages, and yes, you may be shouting at the screen to hit the diagonal and it will bounce straight into the hole, but sometimes you can get away with it. As you would expect, the hard courses pose a significant challenge to all ages and to all players, and in this case we see a number of teleports which will teleport our ball all the way around that screen. And so let's just speed up that footage and let's see player 2, because of course player 2 has never seen this course or this hole before.
Straight down the hole. Straight down the hole. You would not believe it.
Sometimes things are deliberately not obvious, and so the player will have to work out what they are supposed to do. In this case, you have to move around the whole thing and hopefully aim for the hole, and there is a patch missing from the corner of the maze, and so you can't aim for the hole directly, you'll just have to aim for that patch. For this reason, it is very difficult to get some holes in just the one shot. Hole-in-one miniature golf was designed in America, and so is an NTSC game, and if you are playing this in the correct aspect ratio, your screen will be stretched to the top and the bottom. Unfortunately, the screenshots on Lemon Amiga are from an NTSC version using a PAL machine, but you can see this is the PAL conversion or an NTSC version, and you can see that the screen actually is supposed to meet the top and the bottom of that screen area. Week, you may remember we looked at Sculptured Software, who were based in Salt Lake City, and DigiTek were based in Tampa, Florida. DigiTek were a publishing company, but they also bought the rights to publish this game from the original author Charles J. Carter, who did the coding and the design. The graphics and the music was all created by Scott Cribbs, and apart from Amy Putt Classics, those are the only two games that those guys created on the Amiga. Surprisingly, this game appeared on a number of platforms, including the Commodore 64, the Apple II GS, the Atari ST, and the MS-DOS platform, as well as the Amiga. And the EGA and VGA versions were supported on the DOS platform. To 4 players can play this game, taking it alternatively in turns with the mouse, and so lots of fun can be had with mums and dads, grannies and granddads, and even the tiny tots playing this game. But that's enough of the 2-player action. Let's return to the main menu and select our next mode, Out of This World. Out of This World courses play just that little bit harder, and so you'll see some traps and also some treasures if you manage to line your shots up perfectly, but you'll find some things which simply boggle the mind. For example, on this second hole we can clearly see no objects in our way, but this is a crown green bowling area, and so we will find our little hero bouncing all over the area except where we want it to go, which is down that hole. enjoy the digitized crowd noises, and I wish there were more oohs and ahs in this game, as we narrowly miss our target. But unfortunately, the game is played almost silently, which is a major shame, but maybe you can play some of your own music in the background. Out of This World course is for professionals only, so let's quit back to that main menu and select another realm. This time let's move on to those holidays. This time, instead of 18 normal holes, we'll find instead a variety of different landscapes in which we can travel to get to our destination. And of course, almost all of those can have a hole in one, but mastering that tactic is not easy. You can see on this first level, Mighty Mouse, which you may remember from the kids' TV show. Mighty Mouse is on his way, Mighty Mouse to save the day. But Mighty Mouse is not good enough to save my shots on this particular level. Hole-in-One tries a few different things to keep the play interesting, and one of those is switching to the side view, and in the side view you aren't quite sure what you can hit and what you cannot hit, but you can see the graphics are quite well drawn, and 1988 some of the games of this caliber hadn't really emerged on the Amiga, because many 1988 games were still quite poor on the graphics front. You can see I'm having no chance at all to get into the burrow, and having made the burrow, of course we'll have to try to negotiate the animal. Some shots are incredibly easy and some shots are very difficult, so let's move on to the next scenario where we can see some romance and some skyscrapers, but if we hit the water we'll drop a shot, and when we can only be allowed 3 shots over par, dropping a shot in this case is not recommended. Some of these landscapes are geared towards multiplayer action, and sometimes playing this with a girlfriend is quite fun, and it's quite novel to bounce around all this territory, and you never quite know what you can hit and what you cannot hit, and sometimes the best laid plans unfortunately go to waste. Being the holidays, all the major holidays are covered, including Easter, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And of course Easter features some nice cute bunnies and some nice Easter eggs. And sometimes it's possible to launch a shot over the ears of those rabbits, and sometimes it is actually possible to squeeze in between those eggs and to score a brave shot onto target. Here we see a beautiful beach scene with some lovely ladies tanning themselves on the beach. If we rebound off those ladies, maybe we'll get somewhere near that target, and sometimes that's the only way that we'll make any progress. In some areas you'll find extra details, and you can see a snorkeler, we can see someone on a windsurfer, and someone fishing on the end of that pier, and even some skyscrapers in the background. So no expense has been spent with these graphics, but you can see what is there is functional, and it also contains some mind-boggling tricks sometimes, and also a little bit of extra romance. Happy birthday to all those people with birthdays around this time of year, and we can also try for a hole in one. This being the holidays, father is waiting at home, lazily watching his favourite sports on TV, smoking and drinking beer. So we'll have to be careful not to wake father, otherwise he'll be cross with us as we try to score in this game. That's enough of Labour Day, and so we move on to Columbus Day and also Halloween. And it's certainly fun to read out those names on the scorecard, and that gives us some idea of where we're moving to next. This is a huge adventure, and you never know what lies around that corner. Next, we move on to the spooky Halloween level, where we find Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, and a monstrous great chasm which is more lethal than any of those put together. Again, a few extra touches like lightning forks in the sky, and maybe the bats flapping around wouldn't have hurt this level. It's pretty fiendish even with two different ways to cross the chasm, and it always gives the player something to laugh at when they are doing pretty terrible at this game. Inertia is also a problem, and so you will have to be careful, otherwise you'll roll straight into danger. and it doesn't come more dangerous than a chicken farmyard. And you can see in this particular case we'll have to aim for that rabbit hole again and avoid the cock standing in our way. Fortunately, that turkey doesn't gobble us up, and so we can aim with some confidence towards the hole without any enemies on any of these levels, and that means that we don't have to be too careful. Sometimes we can just hit and hope. Welcome to Thanksgiving, everybody, and in this case we'll have to avoid that turkey and of course negotiate around the cranberry sauce. Luckily, we don't have to kiss any descended relatives, and so this level should be fairly easy and without malcontent. Just like Thanksgiving, sometimes it's easy to tear your hair out at the wrong moment. So let's avoid that damage and move on to that next scenario. We find an icy lake and we see a nice snowman and even some smoke and some stars glittering in the sky. And the icy lake doesn't give us too much variation, but it's at least a step up from a normal game of crazy golf. Last 4 holes are based on the Christmas period, and so if you make it this far, we'll have to find our way around Santa's little helpers. And you can see some nice tools laid around on the bench, all in proportion, and you can see with 7 days to Christmas, we'll have to get a move on and sink the ball into that hole. When you thought it was safe to deliver presents, here comes the ski jump, and we'll have to make this jump in one go, otherwise we may as well forget that level. And luckily we made it, and that's always a good feeling to hear the crowd roar as we manage to score. And finally we make it down that chimney, and we can see yet another hole that we'll have to aim for. CDs magically on the floor standing on end, and we can see another toy soldier, perhaps reminding us of Robocod. Like real Christmas, we don't have to put up with Bing Crosby, and you can see we've made it all the way to New Year. And so from the New Year, all we have to do is to make our way across Broadway, through the crowds, and then we can score. And then it's all the way over to the next set of courses. That's tremendously well done. That's 90 points out of a par 24 that we could have scored on that particular course. So let's sweep up that damage and let's move on to our final set of courses, the Menagerie. DigiTek published a number of games on the Amiga. Their first game was Amigas, which was an Arkanoid ripoff in 1987, which I unfortunately had. They moved on to Vampire's Empire in 1988, Joe Blade, which appeared on lots of platforms in 1988, Amy Putt Classics, and then there was Thunder Boy, an absolute Wonder Boy ripoff, which appeared in 1988, and then they moved on to Western games, and Eskimo games appeared in 1989, and finally Dino Wars appeared on the Amiga in 1990, which was a Primal Rage type of Archon game, and then Big Business, which was a business sim, which of course failed miserably, and Hill Street Blues was the last game that they released on the Amiga. I find on many levels a subtle sense of humour, and on this one we can ride Mike the Magic Dragon all the way through to our goal, and that can be a frustrating level or quite easy. Next we head out to the desert, where we'll find someone waiting patiently for the cell phone recharge point, and also a Native American who stepped out for a smoke. You can see a great pattern on the floor, and a snake waiting to gobble us up, a wolf and an eagle. So it's those great touches which give this game that sense of humour. You can see we also have to deal with those night courses, and on the night course we'll have to make our way up that ramp without falling into the water, otherwise we'll drop a shot. The game isn't an endless barrel of laughs, and sometimes you'll have to use your brain to work out what is going on. In this particular room we find some teleports on the floor. We'll have to move through those in sequence, and they will eventually teleport us to the two ramps you can see, which then take us to the top of the level and our destination. The drop shots can be infuriating in one player mode, but in multiplayer mode of course all of these drop shots are hilarious, and it gives you a chance to catch up, and sometimes the random factor of this game can catch players out, and it can sometimes give them a hole in one just like that. So you never know how each player is going to go, and even masters of this game don't always manage to complete it with those great shots. But here we go with another Halloween level, and at last we find the lightning, a witch, a crazy ghost, and some skeleton who's on a diet. Friendly neighbourhood cat is disturbed because he's been offered an ice cream by someone who is walking around trying to trick or treat the neighbours. and so you will find a difficult time ahead and can even see things hanging around on that roof. But it's difficult and you have to have respect sometimes, because if you don't, this game will wipe the floor with this. So it's best to take a rest and take a holiday and escape like Robinson Crusoe on our own desert island. Mini Golf also appeared in 1988, and you can see a rip-off of the Mini Golf logo there, which is simply saying that we absolutely ripped off your game. But we managed to hit a score there, which unfortunately has not given us a great score, 38 from par 11. So let's move on to the back nine, and from here we find Sim City, and it's our job to weave through those cars, and that leads to some frantic action. Hole-in-One is a crazy game, and it's quite good as well. And I think this game would have been enhanced many-fold if it had included some kind of soundtrack. And if a CDI version of this game had have been created, it would have had a great soundtrack and would have even been applicable for modern mobile platforms even to this day. It's very simple and it only requires us to play crazy golf. Narrowly avoiding the worm and the sharks and of course the duck's feet and of course the leaking hole in the bottom of that boat, we can make our way hopefully through those bubbles to the seahorse and then on to the next hole. It's Elite Dangerous, or maybe it's just Hole-in-One. Either way, all we can do is try to get out of here as quickly as we can. finding ourselves on Father's table, we'll have to avoid the picture of Granny and of course avoid falling into that ink, because our little mole cannot stand falling into the ink. And so we can bounce off that landscape, and sometimes it's pretty fun and sometimes it's pretty annoying. I think with 8 courses on this expansion pack to the original Amy Putt Classics, I think this compilation is value for money, and it's worth checking out for those parties and those times during the holidays when you really want to avoid shooting dinosaurs and simply pot a little mini putt ball around them and aim for those skyscrapers. And now that brings us on to those scores. The lowest score I could find came from Amiga Action, who awarded this game 44%, complaining that this was too similar to mini golf. The second lowest score came from the Games Machine, who gave this 49%. On the other end of the scale, Lemon Amiga awarded this 77%. Info Magazine gave this 8%, and the highest score went to Amiga Computing with an amazing 81%, which gives this game an average score of around 6.5 out of 10. Thank you once again for checking out another relaxing Lemon Amiga Playguide and review. Sometimes I like to champion games that nobody else on the internet would even bother with, and this is a classic example. It's a game that I had fun with, it's a lesser known title, and for my money it's a hidden gem on the Commodore Amiga. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again at some point very soon. Thank you.